Hi everybody, we're going to make the caterpillar project in BlocksCAD, and I'm going to walk you through it. So let's go to the instruction packet first, and we are going to use the translate, the sphere, and the cylinder. And as you can see, the body is a number of spheres attached to each other. The head is a sphere translated up a little bit on the z-axis. The eyes are two spheres, and the antennae are cylinders. So let's get started. The best place to start would be with the body. And let's get a sphere, radius of 10, and just hit render. And that size looks fine. I'm going to change the color. And I'll change it to yellow. Now we're going to duplicate this. So you right click or control click and duplicate. And then we need to translate this in transforms, get the translate. For the second body part, and I'm going to change the color of this one. So if you look at the red line and the green line, you decide which way you want it. I'm going to have it go forward along the red line, and the red line is the x-axis. And you can see the y in the corner, so the green is the y-axis. So I'm going to translate it along the x. Now the radius is 10 centimeters, so that's from the middle out. So I'm going to go 15 centimeters and see how that looks. And that looks perfect. So I'm going to do that again. I am going to duplicate that one. I'm going to change the color. I'll go back and forth between yellow and orange. And then I'm going to add 15 more to the X. So now I will translate it 30 along the X. And you can keep the pattern going. There were 5 pieces of the body. So I'm going to do it 2 more times. So I'll duplicate. I'm going to add 15 again to that 30, keeping everything else the same. So I'm going to make the 30, 45 on the X, and it should show up right here. I'll render test after each piece of new code or each code you change. And that looks good, except I'm going to change the color to the orange. And one more time, I'm going to duplicate this, add 15 along the X-axis. So now the X-axis will be 60. I'm the translate along the X-axis. The radius of the sphere stays the same. And forgot to change the color. I'll put the color back to a yellow, darker yellow, and that should be fine. Now we need to make the head. Now if you go back to the instructions, the head looks a little bigger and it's definitely up higher. So I am going to translate it 15 along the X again, but now I need to translate it along the Z. And it is a sphere. So I'm going to duplicate the last piece of the last body segment and move it a little bit. So I'm going to make my sphere a little bigger. So I'm going to, instead of 10, I'm going to make it 12. I'll change the color. I'll make the head a light blue. And then I will translate this to 75. I'm still adding 15. And we wanted to go up on the Z. So since the radius is 10, I think I'll go up 10. And we'll take a look at that. And that looks good. It's attached, it's up a little higher, it's a little larger. Now you can see I'm rotating it, and because now I want to put the 2 eyes in front. So I'm going to start with a new sphere for the eyes, and I'm going to color those a different color. So I will get a sphere. I'll get a color block out of transforms. And I'll make the eyes black. But got to remember now, they're going to show up inside here if we don't translate them. So we've got to translate them in front of the head. And the head has an X of 75. So I need to go further than that 75. So I'm going to go 100. Because the eyes are going to be small. I want to make sure they don't get lost inside the head. The radius, I'm going to make 2, and I need to put them up higher on the Z. So the Z is 10 for the head. I'm going to bring it up a little higher. I'm going to bring it up to 12, and then I'll render it and see where the eyes end up. And while I'm doing this, you can see it takes a little bit longer to load. So I'm going to take the smooth down to low because the render is taking longer. Now I'm going to zoom out because I couldn't see the eye. So now I can see it is too far on the X. I need to pull it back in, and you can see that's the X axis. So I hit 100. So I'm going to put 80. If I don't see it, it's inside the head. So it's inside the head. So now I'm going to go to 90. And that looks pretty good. I can get it a little closer. I think I'll go to 88. You can see how you have to do a lot of trial and error with this. Maybe I'll do 86. And that looks perfect. Well, not perfect, but it needs to go a little bit on the Y because you can see the green Y in the back. So it needs to go a little to the right. So we're going to take the Y maybe 3 because it just needs to move a little bit. And a little bit more, so I think I'll take it 5 on the Y. And that looks good. And it might go even the X might go a little less. I might take it to 84. It looks like it's a little too far. No, it looks like 85 might be it. 85. 84 was too inside. Good. Now you'll notice we want another eye. So we're just going to duplicate the eye we have, and we're going to move the Y. Because if you look back, the green is the Y. The middle is a Y of 0. And it goes 5 units to the right. So we're going to take that, after we duplicate it, the 5, and put a -5 on the Y. Everything else we're going to keep the same. So now that Y is -5, and that should be fine. Great. And the next thing, we need to put an antenna that was a cylinder. So let's get a cylinder. And we also want that in the head area. So when I get a translate, I'm going to start with these numbers, but change them a little bit. So I'll get a translate, put it around the cylinder. Now my cylinder radius one is 10. I'm going to take that to 2. We want it thin. And the height of 10, we can keep that 10 for now. So now I'm going to translate it, not quite to 85. I think I'll go to 80 because we need it in the head area. The Y, I'm going to put at 5. And the Z, I'm going to put at 12. Because we want 2. So we want 1 to the right and 1 to the left. So that's too far to the right and not high enough. So the Z I'm going to put at 15. I'm just going to change one thing at a time. A little bit higher. I'll try 20. Too high. So we'll go 18. And we're going to take it a little bit to the left. So we're going to take the Y down to 3. And that looks good. It will look better too when you put it on medium. That looks pretty good. I think the color is fine. So I'm just going to duplicate this. And then just change the Y to -3, and everything else should stay the same. And I think that looks great. So now I'm just going to take my smooth up to medium. It will take a little longer to render, but it will look much better. And my caterpillar looks great. That's all you need to make the caterpillar.